show, folks. Welcome to On the Red Dot. This week, we continue with our series, Friends for a Better World, where we track young social entrepreneurs doing good around the region while making friends in the process. This week, we head off to Indonesia to meet a young woman who's made it her business to keep sharks in the sea and out of your soup. 4 p.m. Kathy Shi is on a plane to Lombok, Indonesia.
Hi.
Good morning.
This is no ordinary trip. The 32-year-old is taking a group of tourists on an eco tour to Tanjung Lua, a village off the beaten path for tourists, situated over an hour away from the main tourist town of Kuta. Viewer discretion in this segment is advised due to the graphic visuals.
I heard about Tanjung Lua before I came to Tanjung Lua, but actually seeing it for yourself, like sharks being brought in and sharks being cut up and all the bloody innards of sharks just laid out like that, it was just... I don't think horrifying even justifies the feeling, but it's like I intellectually told myself that when I first come down, I cannot show emotions because it's about wanting to make friends with the people here. But it was really hard when you are put face to face with all the shark carcasses. So I think I was just shocked. I was in shock at first, and then I just stood away. I just went to a corner and I just broke down.
Tanjung Lua is the largest shark fishery in Lombok Island. Indonesia is the largest shark-catching country, contributing to 13% of the world's catch. This according to the United Nations Food and Agriculture Organization review in 2011. Heartbroken, Kathy decided that something must be done to divert shark fishermen away from the trade.
When I first came to Lombok, I wasn't sure how to start. I just knew that I wanted to provide an alternative livelihood for them. So I thought of a lot of stupid things like maybe even lobster farming or bird's nest house. Yeah, so it was only after I talked to the fishermen more did I realize that they were not open to learning new things. They really just wanted to be in the ocean.
So Kathy made friends with the fishermen and persuaded them to show off their beautiful hometown as boat guides instead. The history teacher of 7 years resigned from a job and started a social enterprise, the Dorsal Effect, 2 years ago. Today, she's bringing a group of tourists on a full-day treat, visiting Tanjung Lua's beautiful snorkeling sites and savoring its lush landscapes. It's a boon for the boat guides who used to hunt for sharks.
Typically, the shark fishermen will go out to sea for about 14 to 20 days, sometimes a bit longer, to try to hunt. But before they even start catching sharks, they go into debt because they have to prepare their supplies for the boat and food and fuel and stuff. Yeah, so if they are lucky, they manage to catch anything. They come back with a good catch. They can make maybe about 80 to 100 USD for that one trip of a good catch.
But when there's no catch, the fishermen end up in debt.
Shark fishing is dangerous for the fishermen because they tend to sometimes go to areas that are protected, like they breach certain areas that are marine protected areas, and if they get caught, they are actually locked up and they're not allowed to take their boats back. So it's a very scary trade for them when they get caught.
That happens because fishermen are increasingly driven further out to sea as the shark population dwindles, making the situation worse are the month-long trips out to the ocean, which poses unpredictable risks.
There was once a fisherman shared also about how his boat was out in the middle of the ocean and then his engine died, so they were stranded at sea for many days before somebody came to rescue them. So that was a very traumatizing experience for him.
That's why some fishermen welcome Kathy's idea of becoming a boat tour guide, which leaves them with more time to spend with their families at home.
Lui anano, kluy la munta papa tak mau. Munde ja nyarian le bale daripada te lalu mancing kluyun kat di tau tindo di perahu te kosak cumba goyang.
Kathy charges $150 Singapore per head for a full-day boat tour, with a minimum of 4 persons per tour. Of the amount collected, $150 goes to the fishermen. Another $150 goes to transport expenses, leaving the rest to cover her personal accommodation, food, and flight expenses, which typically costs 400 Singapore dollars. The business idea won her 10,000 Singapore dollars in seed fund from the Young Social Entrepreneurs or YSE program hosted by the Singapore International Foundation last year, a program that helped her meet like-minded people to share her journey with. For the fishermen, hosting boat tours is a lucrative alternative to shark fishing. $150 all in a day's work, compared to the same amount that they would get after a month-long fishing trip. There is one caveat though, there are not enough tourists. Kathy gets 5 boat tours on a good month, none on others. That's why she's only converted 2 fishermen so far. According to a local NGO, some 26 shark fishing boats still operate from Tanjung Lua.
There's so many challenges, but I think the recurring one that keeps hitting me is how do I go on if not enough people come and finances become a problem and an issue.
That's not the only issue that Kathy's facing. Greater problems lie ahead. But for Kathy, there's no turning back from the work that she's found the calling for.
Rashad is an Afghan refugee. He wants to seek a better life in Australia. But his journey ended in Indonesia, behind bars. Australia no longer allows asylum seekers to land on its shores. Today, an estimated 10,000 refugees are stranded. What will happen to them? Get Real visits detention centres to find out. Life in Limbo, Monday, 8 p.m.
Time waits for no one. The game is on. 11 contestants vie to be Korea's #1 chef.
是不好吃吗？
With judges from hell. This won't be easy.
3、2、1，请停手。这些谁要吃？
真的很残酷。
我可以赌上其他的一切。
Who is the next Master Chef Korea? Friday, 8 p.m. only on Channel U.
We're all born to protect. But for me, it's a calling. John was hit by a car and fell into a coma. With a financial consultant's help, we used the newspaper to speed up the claim. So John's family could focus less on their finances and more on his recovery. I work for AXA. My calling is to protect people.
Discover more stories on axa.com.sg. AXA, redefining insurance.
Letting go is all about living life to the fullest. Oh, it's pretty high.
How to put it?
I am weaving silk, golden silk. I don't think I've ever had so many monks actually praying over me. I feel so privileged.
"6 a.m., the busiest time at the Tanjung Lua jetty. Fishing boats are just returning with their catch. In an hour or so, the auction for sharks will begin on most days, but not today.
This is the shed where they usually bring the sharks in for the auction. The fishermen would drop the sharks over there at the harbour, and then they'll start carrying it on bamboo poles up all the way in. Then they'll lay it out according to the species of the sharks.
Kathy normally sees 5 to 7 regular middlemen bidding for the sharks. According to the Wildlife Conservation Society in Indonesia, 800 to 1,000 sharks land here in a month during peak season. Less than 400 during low season.
So after the bidding is over, they'll start cutting up the sharks. And then they'll start reselling the parts also to different buyers before they transport it to be processed. This is the first time I've seen it empty. I've never seen it empty before.
Normally, the first thing you would notice when you enter this place is the stench of death. This is the only time of the year when the auction square is almost empty. That's because the Muslim fasting month is just over. The fishermen took a break during the festival and have yet to return from their month-long fishing trips. One manta ray and a few small sharks, the sum total of today's catch. The bidders are not thrilled. No sharks means no business and no profits. Only sharks more than 1 meter in length are valuable enough to be auctioned. So the catch was unceremoniously hauled off to a nearby processing plant. The meat is made into satay. Low-quality skin is fried and sold as crackers. But these make for small revenue. The real money rakers are manta gills and shark's fin, of course, which are exported to countries like Singapore.
Kalau untuk kulit pari ataupun hiu yang besar itu biasanya digunakan untuk bahan kerajinan, bahan-bahan untuk pembuatan dompet, pembuatan sepatu, dan juga ikat pinggang. Untuk jenis kulit pari, ini yang lebih mahal harganya karena dia memiliki corak yang lebih bagus di sini.
For Kathy, it's a relief today not to endure the sight of lifeless sharks and rays hauled in by the dozens. For her, having no beautiful sharks or rays left to dive with in 10 years is too much to bear.
The first time I saw a real shark. So it was really magical an experience to actually see something so magnificent in the water with somebody so dear to me. And it hit me like in the sense that what if I live in a world where children don't get to see sharks in the oceans anymore? It'd be really sad if the only way they can see sharks is in aquariums. So that hit me out like, no, cannot, must do something about it. What kind of sharks do you know? Like, do you know that?
So she did. Kathy volunteers with Shark Savers, an NGO dedicated to saving sharks and mantas. Twice a month, she visits schools to give talks on shark conservation. But raising awareness isn't enough. She wanted to do something to curb the supply of sharks. That's why Dorsal Effect was born.
I think my parents were initially shocked, and I really don't blame them because I guess all parents worry about you first. But over time, maybe they see that I really want to do this, even though it's not raking in profits yet. But yeah, I don't know. I guess parents know you best as well, so they know that I'm not going to give this up anytime soon. So we just don't talk about it anymore.
For Kathy, it's tough making a decision that didn't sit well with her parents. Still tougher to forgo a regular paycheck and watch her bank account slowly emptying out. Without the necessary volume, she makes a loss on each tour, forking out some 400 Singapore dollars whenever she flies to Lombok to personally host her clients.
It's not easy to have months where it's just zero bank account. I've never had that before in life. I was like, before this I was a teacher. It's just every month you expect to get paid. But yeah, it was just a really huge paradigm shift for me because there are times where I don't know I really don't know what am I gonna do, and I'll just break down and cry. And And that's the moments where you really appreciate the friends and the people around you who just, you know, do little things like buy you lunch, take you, just buy you meals. I just appreciate that a lot. I really don't know. I can't even contemplate a life that I'm not doing this anymore. It's reached this stage where you just walk and you just keep walking on, even though sometimes you just feel really, really terrible about it, but you just keep walking on anyway.
Sustainability seems to be out of her grasp at the moment, but it's not her biggest bugbear. For this nature lover, what worries her most is the impact that she's leaving on the environment.
I guess my biggest fear is, what if there are other implications to the environment? Like what if because of tourism, something else dies? Maybe coral bleaching happens because of the excessive use of sunblock by the tourists, things like that. I don't want it to backfire in terms of the environment being harmed in other ways as well.
For now, though, she's encouraged by the Gotong Royong spirit that the local community is showing.
When we go on the trips, I get the tourists to pick up trash that they see. It's really heartening when you start seeing the fishermen also starting to pick up the trash. Like they get interested, they get curious, and they see why we're doing it, and they start doing it as well. I think that's the best kind of education. It's not about telling them what to do, but it's them seeing you doing it, and they do it too. Okay, we're trying the sea stars back into the water so they don't dry up. But the sea stars are very resilient. Even if they lose a leg, they'll grow it back.
Like the starfish that she saved, Kathy is resilient. She's made friends with the local conservationists and she's collaborating with them to propose an ecotourism model to the local government. As for me, I made a pledge many years ago to stay away from that shark's fin soup, and it hasn't been difficult to stick to that pledge. I'm hoping that after having seen what you've seen, if you haven't already, I'll get you thinking about making a pledge of your own. After the break, we meet an ex-drug addict who turned his life around after living on the streets for over a decade.